My next upload this evening is with regard to the measures and tactics of the individuals that have spread themselves thin. It's a gentle and kind way of describing it, with regard to how they have acquired from my fortunes and how they have also assisted in the obstructions of procedures that should have happened 3.5 years ago. So there are ladies that are compromising themselves and women's rights, assisting theft from my fortune and harms to my child. So this is really a disappointment, but this is the fact of the matter and the poor nature of the circumstances I'm presented with when young ladies are working in a circumstance to steal from my fortunes and my property and portfolio. So I'm just raising the awareness of this now at the moment, having had a huge input in the recent legislation that has occurred in Ireland and abroad. There have been very positive developments as a consequence of my purpose. And that is common knowledge. And as I've mentioned, and I'm not going to be modest at this stage of the day, is the extent and vast and substantial amount of positive reimbursements were as a consequence of my humanitarian work, particularly between 2018 and 2019. So that is all voluntary when it's humanitarian, and it's really rewarding, it's really fantastic. But there's a very serious issue when young ladies are using other people's wealth and property to finance their lifestyles that they haven't actually in any way earned. So I have a huge little message, that's a contradiction in terms, to mothers regarding these kind of women that like to spread themselves thin when acquiring from other people's achievements, accomplishments, etc. My good work that everyone had been harmonizing with, that were all common knowledge about, the harmonization matters, etc., of people spiritually attuning with my universal light worker experience, my royal sacred experience, etc. Synchronicity has had a part to play in these people's objectives in my personal experience that they have imposed upon. So what I'm going to raise in this matter is the progress with legislation and such that all occurred in just the past 2 years, and people's short memories about what they have exploited and taken advantage of, and the beautiful innocent child that I gave birth to that was harmed so ruthlessly between 2017 and the present date without my care or protection for him. Now, the point I'm getting at is this harmonization scheme and initiative that commenced in this country as a consequence of my experiences and my developments over a decade ago. The issue of that arising partly with recovery from revenge porn. This is just to put a point out there to young educated people. The genesis of my experiences long before 2006. But as I came through that experience of rape and revenge porn and the community's damages to a profession, reputation and a career, and to grow from that and to develop and develop and develop, and then to come to a point of motherhood and to be of a legislative development in a country that has benefited home and abroad. I'm just very curious for women's opinion with regard to the contradiction of harmonization and the developments, partly from revenge porn 2006 to young ladies spreading themselves thin to achieve from my wealth and property. Now that's a big serious issue because that's that's a contradiction in terms and principles and priorities. And especially when there haven't been individuals mindful or grateful. There have been individuals very ungrateful and forgetful, very disrespectful individuals that have been exploiting and gaining. And that's at the same point of disrespect that they've dealt in this circumstance as well. So they've disrespected the protection laws. And they're using women as a commodity to gain from me. So the relationship between 2006 and the present date, and my innocent child as a missing person, and this issue, quite serious with regard to exploitation, is very dangerous, especially with regard to women and children's rights. So when women are being used as tools to negotiate and to barter and to gain, or when women's bodies are being used, it's all very insulting. And when people are claiming to be of harmonization and synchronicity, I find it very amusing. As a universal light worker, I smile when I think of the tactics of those very guilty offenders against my rights and that have stolen from me. I find it very amusing how they consider their synchronization tactics a success when they've disrespected the source of a very sacred light. So I'm just wondering about the IQ level of these individuals that aren't respecting the laws that be and using women as a commodity when we're supposed to be progressing and developing. And then there's the issue of the legislative developments at home and abroad as a consequence of my good work between 2018 and 2017. So it's very insulting to people's intelligence. I'm wondering what would women think of this circumstance if it was happening to your daughters or your grandchildren? Are there cheeky individuals with a short memory or just no sense about this circumstance at all? Are they calculating and assessing and evaluating, and are they using a discerning perspective, or is it just those women spreading themselves thin to steal from this and applying poor tactics, I might add, as well? So there's a very dangerous issue when it comes to women and children's rights. And those that are of harmonization and synchronization, I would say don't bother. It would take more than a traffic light system. It would take more than artificial writing developments that you have caused in this community. It's very serious what you've caused. So I'd appreciate if you get down to the brass tacks about my child unlawfully separated from me, and I'd appreciate the guards doing their job, because it's a bit dangerous when a mother, a law-abiding citizen of royal patronage, is being disrespected in a community. I'd appreciate the guards doing their job properly.